Good evening, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and welcome to our weekly updates of the Senate election map. Sorry about the very late upload, but this is what happens when you have a day job. Anyway, in all seriousness, let's actually talk about this because this is our monthly updates. The model, there's no real changes, of course, so I'm actually going to exit out of this. You can check that out. Instead, I'm going to do a quick, brief overview of my own personal forecast, which is I'm trying to beat the model using what I observe with data, as well as what I've heard about with the situation on the ground from people who live in these areas, as well as what I know about the states historically speaking, and also how the political climate really is, and taking into account events that have happened that maybe haven't been reflected in polling, as well as maybe as well as kind of projecting out and saying, okay, well, they're going to get a strong candidate here or something like that. So effectively, this is just me trying to say this is probably the map you should be looking at right now based off of sample size for the model. Okay, and what we're looking at is the Democrats do have a chance to net maybe one seat, which would be Colorado. And you could make the push that Arizona is that'd be Colorado and Maine with the loss of Alabama. You can maybe make the argument that Arizona is there, but even if we gave Arizona over, that'd be 48. They'd still be short one for majority control. Even in the case that they won the White House, it'd still be 51-49 in favor of the Republicans, and you can basically just kiss the chance of a majority goodbye in the midterms in 2022 at that point, because Republicans would definitely be able to get out the vote in all of the key states. We're talking the other Colorado seat. We're talking, I believe I believe it would be Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania, as well as a few of the seats here would also be up, or the other seat in the state. It'd be the same slate of candidates that was the presidential election in 2016. I believe you'd have the other senator. No, you'd have. And you would undoubtedly have a lot of special elections as well that would need seats filled, because Democrats are going to obviously pull from the Senate for cabinet positions and all of that. So it's a little bit difficult to project which seats would be taken or would be open where the Republicans can make very strong gains at that point. But my point is that if the Democrats win the presidency in 2020, chances are it doesn't matter. They won't retake the White House. It would take a lot of effort to do that, they wouldn't take back the Senate more than likely, and in 2022, and of course any special elections, they'd probably get slaughtered in the Senate. So if they win the presidency in 2020, they're basically kissing control of the Senate goodbye for the next decade, pretty much. Just because of, I've heard it called the pendulum theory, and I guess that's probably the best way to describe it. Basically, as soon as the balance of power truly swings in favor of one party, it starts swinging back in favor of the other. And part of the theory goes that control of the White House means that a party is going to face prospects of losing control in the legislative branch. So that when all of a sudden it swings back the other way, yeah, very rarely will you get a little bit of lineup going where it's in favor of both, where both chambers are in favor of one party, And typically that happens in presidential election years, but sometimes the cards are stacked against one party even then, like this case here, because the map is very much in deep red country in a presidential election year. That's extremely good for the Republicans. They caught a lucky break with when they won presidential with the presidential election cycles lining up in this manner. So even if Donald Trump loses the White House, the most he's going to lose, and now that this has been up, I'm going to go ahead and change it. You know, I'll be generous to the Democrats, right? Let's even give them control of the chamber with the presidency. Let's say, or let's give them control of the chamber because of the vice presidency, right? So what we're looking at is a situation where they've just managed to get control, and we'll even give them the state of Arizona in the presidential election. Whatever, doesn't matter. The problem is the Republicans are already at 50, so they only need to net one seat in special elections and midterms. And here's the thing. They won't lose any seats during the appointment process for cabinet positions, because guess what? A Democrat will not nominate a Republican to a cabinet position or an ambassadorship, and if they did, the Republican would deny it, especially in the Senate. They'd say, nope, not doing it. And then all of a sudden, you've got a situation where, like I said, one of the seats in Michigan is up, if I remember correctly. No, sorry, it's Wisconsin, Ohio, Pennsylvania. Those seats would be solid, maybe not solid for the Republicans, but they'd be massively in favor of the Republicans. You'd probably get one or two of the nominees for cabinet positions from these states, and those would face a special election. So you could see a prospect of a Republican-controlled Senate after the first year, immediately. So the Democrats wouldn't be able to replace Supreme Court justices, at least not ones that they, at least not what they would consider ideal candidates. They'd have to go more moderate, say a Merrick Garland, or, calling him, or somebody even more moderate than that. Maybe even the Republicans would be able to force them to nominate a conservative. I doubt that would happen. So you get, you'd get gridlock at the Supreme Court. In that case, you wouldn't be able to get many cabinet appointees through unless, you got serious concessions policy-wise. The Republicans could block every major bill. And, of course, there's the filibuster. And trust me, if the Democrats got rid of the filibuster as a tool with a dead even vote in the Senate and the tiebreak cast by the vice president, Republicans would have a field day with that in the media. So that's a bad idea. Democrats wouldn't be able to push any of their major reforms through. All the Democrats in the primary debates are talking about how they're going to win back control of the Senate, but I just gave them a best case scenario right now where they flip Suzanne Collins' seat, where they flip Martha McSally's seat, and where they flip Cory Gardner's seat, and they flip Joni Ernst's seat. Sure, I have them losing Alabama in this case, but that's a given. There's almost no situation where Doug Jones keeps his seat. I sincerely doubt that's really on the cards. Maybe they can flip North Carolina, but I've given them a net of 3 seats, which is probably the reasonable max. They could potentially net North Carolina, which would definitely help them. I'm not going to, say that it's 100% out of the question, but it's going to be a difficult lift, and especially with the seats that they want to especially with the seats that they are going to be trying to fight for elsewhere in the nation, because Cory Gardner's an easy target. Joni Ernst is a definite target. They're going to have to play a little bit of defense in Michigan. They're going to have to play a little bit of defense in New Hampshire. They definitely won't be able to play it easy in the places where they do have it. I even expect the Republicans to make at least some form of challenge in Virginia over Mark Warner's seat. I don't see that. And of course, they're going to be spending resources in Maine as well. Maybe there's going to be a chaotic campaign in Texas. They're going to have to play defense in Alabama, Georgia. There's just not enough money for that. And there's not enough resources in campaign teams. Especially when the Republicans are going to be defending these places. And they have a fairly easy way to defend them. They can say, well, if you're going to vote for Trump, may as well vote for, the senator, and bonus points, the senator isn't Trump. So I see this as a much easier task for Republicans to actually flip seats, and that's not out of the question. Let's say, I'll be generous to the Democrats and give them Colorado regardless, but it wouldn't be outside of the question for Republicans to win in New Hampshire and Michigan. And that would put it way out of... There would be very little chance for the Democrats to actually recover that. They could potentially net 3 seats in Wisconsin, Ohio, and Pennsylvania. I'm not trying to act like that's off the books, because it isn't. That's a very good pickup opportunity. That would bring the control of the Senate closer to the hands of the Democrats and maybe make it easier in subsequent years. But then in 2024, you have a presidential election year, which will make it a little bit more difficult for the Democrats in some regards, though it's a much more balanced map in 2024 in terms of who would be up given a presidential election year. So this is kind of where we'll figure out who's going to control the Senate for I'd say the next, maybe not 10 years, but at least for the next 6. So I don't care who you are. Make sure you vote, obviously. I can't stress that enough. I don't care what your beliefs are. I'd rather people vote than have my way every single time. Because I can accept a loss if people actually have their opinions expressed and actually go out and express them. Because that's a blessing that a surprising amount of people in this world don't have, is the ability to vote and control their own government. Anyway, I want y'all to take it easy. Have a nice day, and I'm going to probably start doing a series where I talk about the history of the candidates in the presidential election, and I might do some people at the state and local level, but that may be dependent on whether or not people actually want to see that and whether or not people are willing to contribute to seeing that. Hashtag shameless plug on that one. Anyway, as always, useful links are down in the description. There's a like button, there's a subscribe button. If you want the notifications, obviously, notifications. I want you all to have a nice day. Take it easy. See you guys next time. Bye.